Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a good time. This is the May art dump. So here we go. And as usual, I'm going to begin with a little message that I got recently. And this was quite a surprise because this person on Instagram, I started following them, it must have been last year, I think. Hold on, what was the. Let's make sure I get the name right. Jacques Jones, Jacques P. Jones, apparently, or Lincoln Jones on Instagram. And so this message says, "Oh my goodness, thank you for following me back." And I was quite surprised to get that because, as I say, I think it was about a year ago or something. It was definitely several months at least. And so I said, "You're welcome," and he said, "I'm a big fan of your work. So seeing you pop up as a watcher made my day," and that was really flattering. As usual, I love to start with messages like this because I feel like I need to show how much I appreciate the wonderful things that people say. It's so lovely, and it's really encouraging. It really makes me feel really good, and I do appreciate these a lot. So let's begin now. You might be able to hear a bit of construction work going out there because literally, like the house right next door to me, they've got a digger and it's making a lot of noise. And yeah, obviously they have to work, they have to do their job. So if I can tolerate it, then I hope you can too. This first drawing that you see here, this was an art trade that I did with PenMark333 or Josh on Instagram, and I love Josh's work. I think I can't remember. It's one of those things now. I'm not sure which one of us followed the other because I definitely find his work very inspirational because it's not a million miles away from the stuff I usually do, but yeah, there's a lot there that makes me think, oh wow, I can learn so much here. And he's really got me thinking, let me have a go at doing some of this. And I've been applying some of the stuff that I've picked up from him to my own work. And he's very generous because rather than doing commissions, he does requests. This was just because this is one of the reasons why I think I need to give him a shout out, and I'm going to recommend that people support this artist if you look him up. So PenMark333, that's his Instagram. He's also on DeviantArt as well, I think. There is a lot that you can pick up. I find his work very inspirational, and so basically what I've done here is my own drawing of his character Candy. She's the squirrel character you see there, and she's hugging her friend Muffy. And I just think all these characters are really cute, and I made the decision to draw these two because I like them the most. He's got some great other characters that if I get around to it, I'd love to give them a shot. In fact, because I'm going to try and get back to work on things, so yeah, might do that next. I think it's just so wonderful that because he did some artwork for me, and he's very generous with it, and I just hope to see him grow as an artist and maybe start making some money off his work because like he could be doing storyboards, and I always feel like you've got to take whatever opportunity you get, and I hope to see him grow and go into bigger things. And I was quite pleased with this drawing, and I've been practicing with a lot of references. This is an example of me sort of looking at different references and thinking, what do I want to do? Getting inspiration from the reference itself. Because there's a great artist called Anastasia Berry. I'm just going to bring up the kind of references that she does. And I strongly recommend checking out her work. She has a Patreon. You can support her in lots of different ways. Yes, and there's so much because I think I'm at that stage where I'm still struggling to use photo references. I find them a bit tricky because what I'm doing is a very different type of, like, the medium is it just different rules apply. So right now I'm mostly just using sketches as references, because I do get a lot of ideas. Like I looked at the reference that was just like a generic character doing this pose that you see here, and I thought I'd like to draw Heart. That's the name of my OC, in that kind of pose, because her backstory is she lived on this jungle planet and she was like a hunter. And when I saw this image of what looked like a woman with a spear, I thought, yeah, I'll use that as a reference for Heart. And I'd like to draw more pictures, because the idea is that Heart later on joins the Planet Protection Patrol, and she becomes like a space cop. So it is a bit of a fish out of water thing. And yeah, I'm developing the character. I think somewhere along the line, maybe the next one, I'm just going to move on. I'm going to move straight on to this. Yeah, so this is what Heart looks like. So she's had a haircut now. This is like her current current role as a space cop. Yeah, and she's actually modelling the new uniform, because a lot of the characters that I created who belong in this sort of outer space universe, they're all police officers, and so I had this uniform that all these characters wear, and I've been adjusting it. I've added some shoulder pads, because I don't know, that sort of adds a bit more of a sci-fi thing to it. I think I'm trying to make it, because they wear these bulletproof vests that sort of look very much like the kind of thing some police officers wear on Earth, yeah, so it's a bit of a mix of different ideas put together. I've always been quite happy with the colour scheme. I mean, I went through a few changes on that, but this is what I've settled on now, and I think that works rather well. And I like how this poses. This is another Anastasia Berry reference. That's where I'm going to try and remember to put a link to her website. I really hope I don't forget to do that, because I've been getting a lot of inspiration from her drawings. And yeah, I usually struggle giving characters kind of a resting pose, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that one came out. I coloured it in very hurriedly, because I finished it off yesterday, because the line work was all done. So I thought I'll just do this, because I was trying to make sure that I definitely had enough material to show you today, because there's a lot of things that I kind of finished, but I just didn't want to put them in this video. It didn't seem like the type of thing that I include here. But here's a lovely little drawing that I did for Julie Kitsuli, of her pony Sona, and also her boyfriend's pony Sona. I've completely forgotten now what the names of those two ponies are, because they have like special pony names. Anyway, yeah, Taylor is her boyfriend, and yeah, I had a good time drawing both of these characters. And it's funny how Taylor's pony, because he's a stallion, yeah, I was kind of doing it in the same sort of style as the My Little Pony style in the TV series. And at the same time, I was trying to make it a little bit more horsey. Like the shape of the face, it is a bit more angular, I think. I tried to just make it a bit more horse-like, because I'm constantly trying to get better at drawing horses. They're so hard, really hard to draw. And because I didn't want it to just look like I was copying the exact style. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this. I see a lot of flaws, I always do. So yeah, I am working on certain things, because the thing is, Julie's OC and like her avatar wears those pink goggles, and every time I draw those goggles, I was like, yeah, what's the best way to draw them? And again, I should look up more references. You see here, this is actually an example of what my work sometimes looks like when I don't use reference, and I'm just sort of intuitively drawing things. You're going to see the original sketches that I did of these two. I just really wanted to do a town mouse and country mouse in a kind of anthropomorphic style. And my friend Furmaster came up with names for these characters. So this is Sally. Thanks to Furmaster for giving me that name. And really this was just another practice, and it's mostly just design. I'm trying to get better at designing, because I really like how I drew the shape of the head of this character, just the overall head, and not too sure about those. The color palette, I don't know, that could probably use some work, because I think red shoes, they don't match at all. Maybe I would make them the same color as her, in pink like her shirt. And by the way, I quite like the size of the collar in that shirt, because it's sort of pulled out a bit. But the thing is, I always draw collars like that, no matter. That's how I draw. If a character is wearing a cloak, or if they're wearing a collared shirt, that's generally and like sort of lapels and things like that. It always comes out like that. So I don't know. I think I might need to step out of my comfort zone a bit more. And that is supposed to be a slice of toast in her mouth. Doesn't really look like bread. Again, got to use more references. You've got to use references for everything, guys. Like I said, bread seems like an easy thing to draw, but apparently I'm not very good at drawing bread from memory. I think her phone looks better than that slice of bread. And this is the country mouse. And Furmaster suggested Betty as a name. So I thought this gal really looks like a Betty. I had a bit of fun with this because in the original sketch she didn't have that piece of that ear of corn sticking out of her mouth, and I thought, I've got to put that in. I'm going to make this really stereotypical. And I added some mud to her boots, and I think she looks quite cute. I think because I was wondering if maybe there could be a story behind this character and Sally, and maybe they're cousins or something. Maybe they're related somehow. So I think I definitely preferred the way I drew Sally's face and head and all her features. This is a bit more like the kind of stuff I was doing for Beluga Weekly. In fact, like the design of her body and the clothing and everything is very close to a character named Polly that I used to draw in my comic, my web comic, because she was a farm girl, and so I just sort of used that because I was being lazy. Yeah, just having a bit of a drink. And what's this one? This is Eve. Because I'm trying to draw more pictures of Eve, because I came up with her about a year ago as an idea, and then because I've been working on this project called Femme Fatale, and we're coming up with lots of different ideas for characters that live in this world. And the idea with Eve is she's a comedian, and she appears on like an SNL style sketch show, and this is one of her comedy characters, the Trash Panda, because Trash Panda is like a term commonly used for raccoons. So yeah, I thought that sounds like a comedy sketch that they would put on their show. And I actually did a background for this. That's a novelty. I don't spend a lot of time with backgrounds, and I'm glad I did with this one, because what I am trying to do, I'm trying to not to rush ahead and draw the character, because when you draw a background, it does have an influence on the way you draw the foreground. And I think I've said that a few times in these videos, so I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing me saying all these things over and over again. But yeah, I once again I used I used a different drawing. I think it was like a clip art drawing of an alleyway as a reference for this one. And what I like to do when I'm looking up references, I like to give myself some ideas that would never have come into my head if I hadn't looked up a reference online. So yeah, things like a lot of the details on the dumpster are certain things that I wouldn't have added unless I'd looked at the references, like the hinges and that little that kind of label thing, and like the bumps on the side. I don't know what they're for. I don't know what the purpose of those are, but yeah, I'm glad that I looked up a reference for this, because I think it just made me do a better job making it look like an actual alleyway. I didn't put any texture on the walls for some reason. Over there in the back, you can kind of see there's those bricks and everything, and yeah, there's a bit of that. I decided, because I'm hearing a lot from other artists, like in the video tutorials I watch, saying how important it is to just finish what you start. And I think that is right, because you don't be too much of a perfectionist. It's a lot better to finish what you start and move on, and think I'm going to try harder this time. This one looks quite good. So for a long time now, I've had this idea that my character Olba, that's this character, she works as a cop, but she's sort of a part-time dancer. And I just love the idea of her doing a kind of aerobics type thing. And yeah, as you can probably guess, I spent a lot of time working on that stereo. The only thing is, it looks a bit like a cardboard cutout, because I just, I didn't put it at an angle at all. I think seeing as how everything in the background is very uniform, it kind of looks a bit flat, because I just I didn't think so much about how I could put in some different angles, because I didn't start with the background, so I got a bit lazy, because I'd already spent a lot of time drawing Olba, and once again I used one of Anastasia's drawings for reference. So yeah, the dancing pose was mostly, like, I already thought that Olba would make a good dancer, because she seems like the flexible type. But yeah, so when I saw that Anastasia had done a base sketch of a dancer, I was like, yeah, I'm using that. Do check out her work; she's wonderful. And that takes us to the end of that part. I am rushing a little bit, I think. So now we're moving on to the sketches, and recently, so I drew this shark as like a little doodle for like a session that I was doing on Discord with some friends, because we used to do online art classes on Discord, and yeah, I learned quite a lot from those, because we did, because we were going to be doing them every month, and because I shared the artwork I did for January, February, and March. We didn't do one in April. That's why I didn't have anything to show you then. But these are the drawings that I did for our most recent session, and we're not going to be doing it as a class anymore. It's going to be more like a little art club, and I don't know how regularly we're going to be doing them, but hopefully it's going to be open to more people, so more people can get involved. I also did this drawing of a dog, and I think because it wasn't going to be a puppy at first, like the way I drew the eyes. Excuse me. Oh dear. Sorry. That was most unpleasant. I made the iris and pupils smaller in the when I first started drawing it. Then I thought it would be cute if I turned it into a puppy. So I just made the iris and pupils larger, give it a bit of a cute little puppy eyes, and it made the body really tiny, and yeah, that's how it ended up like this. I mean, it's not perfect obviously, but it looks pretty cute, and then the third one I did was this. It was just some sketches of my OCs. The one on the far left is Olba. That's what she looks like most of the time. She's very, very serious and very proper. Ema's the one in the middle. She's my main girl. And once again, I've had a go at using the new design of the uniform. So she's got those shoulder pads on, and the bulletproof vest. Because the bulletproof vest used to be like a kind of washboard thing that they just had strapped on their fronts, and it didn't look very practical, or like going to do any help. So I kind of made them look more like traditional bulletproof vests. And all of this was from memory. I didn't use any references for these. So that's why Zola, the one on the far right, her pose isn't, it's not flawless. I quite like how I did the arms. I'm getting better at deciding how the arms need to look. I tend to just do it that way for all of them. So yeah, but her far away leg doesn't quite work. I don't think. I think I probably needed to. I should have used a reference. This is what happens when you don't use references. Like, if I just take that out of the way, it's not too bad. Because I've become quite a fan of drawing feet kind of pointed and kind of following the straightness of the calf muscle. Like it's. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm definitely picking up some new habits. What's this? It's been mentioned on DeviantArt. That's nice. That's probably the next message I'm going to share with everyone. This is Claire Kitty, and this character was created by Julie Kitsuli. I'm trying to think now. Have I credited everyone? I mean, I'm going to try and make sure I put all their names in the description. Because I drew her like wearing these clothes. I tried to make her look like she's working on a new song, and so she's wearing her glasses. She's got a pen dangling out of her mouth. I don't know why she needs to do that. She's not very good at multitasking, apparently. But yeah, and I like this idea of her wearing a kind of puffy sleeved shirt. But yeah, and a pair of jeans. Because that just seems like a nice, comfortable, casual outfit for her. Like, this is when she doesn't go out in public and she's not being seen. Again, no reference for this one. It was more of a practice in design and fashion. Because I'm getting all right at drawing clothing. I mean, the jeans don't look exactly like jeans. Again, I'm just going to use more references. Always use more references. That's always the answer. I'm quite happy with this one. So I used another one of Anastasia's drawings again. Because it definitely helps to get them to look a bit more natural and like they're actually posing. One thing I am hearing is that it's very handy to use video clips as references. Like, video yourself doing something and then find a freeze frame, because you can get a more natural pose that way. But this is just I just used Sketch as my guide, and I quite like the curvature in this one, because I drew this after I drew that drawing of Heart, because the idea of Heart is that she's a bit of a giant, because her race they're generally very large creatures, and Ema's kind of just got the height of an average adult human, basically. So I was trying to make sure that I didn't make her too tall, because I think in the reference drawing the character was a bit taller than this. So I'm trying to work that out. I'm trying to make sure how I don't, because you've got to be able to deal with proportions and things. You've got to make sure that make them right height, right weight, and everything, all that. And this is the sketch I did of Sally, and you can probably tell I just drew this on my iPad, because I use Sketchbook Pro or Sketchbook Express, whatever you want to call it. It's basically Sketchbook now, and because there's an iPad app that you can get, and I mean I'm not that good at sketching just by pushing around on iPad. I don't have an iPad Pro, so I can't use the stylus. I mean, there are styluses you can get, but it's basically the same as drawing with your finger, I've found. So that was just that's the one of Betty. Because I kind of knew what I wanted to do with the hands, like make them stretch out the straps in like the sort of jaunty kind of way. But I scribbled that down, and basically use references. Because this isn't bad. It's not. It's quite a natural looking pose, but it's a lot safer to use references. This is one of the reasons that I make these videos, is because I think it's a good idea to think about the bad habits that we're doing. And I mean, because I'm glad that I drew these sketches, because it's good practice, and it's a good way. You've got to allow yourself to do things badly before you can do them well. And another one that didn't involve, because I didn't choose references for the poses in this drawing. I think I looked up some game show drawings, and this really was just a practice. I haven't finished the full colour version. I'm trying to make a fully rendered one, and that's going quite well. This is an example of what happens sometimes. I'll start with a small idea, and then it will grow, because I didn't know if I was going to commit to this fully. I mean, I'm glad ultimately that I kept going with this, because it sounded like a difficult thing with a lot of detail, but I sort of broke it down. So like there's a money board in one area. You've got the big sign that has the game show's title. That's over on the left in the background. Because again, I don't think I drew the background first, but I did try to make sure that I put the main subjects in a good position. I'm now thinking more about positioning and how to make characters eye-catching. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. I've been tweaking it around a lot. I think the full color version is hopefully going to look better. The thing is, though, because I wouldn't advise people to put this much effort into a pre-sketch, because I really tried to nail the expressions and everything, and you should really, because I've been told that you only want to spend about 5 minutes or something on a pre-sketch. Maybe that's too much, I don't know. A lot of artists find you've got to give yourself a limit. You've got to make sure that it doesn't dominate the process, and that's it apparently. So yeah, I hope you all found that. I did try and speed through it, and I kind of jumped over a few things that I was going to say. So yeah, I find that I do that a lot. But I'm really glad that you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching this, everybody. Do take care, and I am off to the pub.